Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Damian Hill. With me, as always, is TJ O'Connor. Tonight we have the albino rhino, Calyn Hall, who's here with us to discuss the misfortune that a lot of people are going through with the cancellation of certain tournaments, these big-name tournaments for wrestling especially. There's also kickboxing and amateur boxing tournaments that have been canceled. We're here to discuss that. But first, our sponsors. Trash Talk is brought to you again by Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Ink Strength Tattoo out in New Brighton, Minnesota, Origin Wellness CBD, Spartan Martial Arts, Striking Institute, James Clark Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy, The Fighters, and TJ's mom. How are you doing tonight, Calyn?
I'm doing great, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time with us. I understand you're still an essential employee, so you're still working at this time, which is a blessing. So I appreciate you taking the time with us still.
Well, yeah, like you mentioned, the company I work for, Calyn Brands, the best to describe it as like a miniature Amazon. We distribute foods and other essential items, so we're considered obviously an essential business. They split up my work in two separate teams to minimize contact, and so I'm only working every other day, but still getting paid for, like I mentioned, 40 hours. So it is an absolute blessing to still have a regular paycheck coming in at a time like this. But I will always make time for you guys. That's not a problem.
Well, thank you.
Don't make me blush. But yeah, I mean, anytime you get a full paycheck.
Hold on, TJ. I just want to say, shout out to you and to the company that you work for. Like that's amazing that they're doing that for you guys. I mean, that's what's up.
It is nice, and I don't want to like undersell like any of the actual people that are on what quote unquote the front lines, those healthcare workers and everybody like that are truly sticking their lives on the line for something like this. But thank you for whatever credit is due towards me and my company. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, TJ. I just had to get that out there.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to say, anytime you can get a full paycheck for half the work is great, but during a time like this, that makes it all the better to still have the time to stay at home with family and get that normal paycheck. But like Damian said, appreciate you talking to us. Last time we talked, if you would have told me that we'd be having a conversation in early April, I'd be looking to break some fight news right now. That's obviously not the case. What has the last couple months been like Damian said, with the cancellation of the wrestling tournament? Excuse me. When last time we talked, we were talking about the team you had and how geared up you were preparing for that.
So I have somewhat good news. As Wisconsin, we got our wrestling championships in 6 days before they canceled everything. So we were able to experience all those highs and lows of the individual and team championships. So it's I treasure that, because I'll just talk about, individually we had great success. We had 2 champs and 2 thirds, and 3 of those 4 guys are coming back next year. So it's very exciting for next year. But in the team tournament, we came in as the number 3 seed, which was probably where we deserved to be leading up to that. But our team finally came together at the right time. We had the guys at the right weight when it mattered, and we were able to run through our first 2 rounds and finally see McGuanago, who had handled us earlier this year, and able to squeeze a 32-30 victory with a miracle pin one match before the final one. And it was it's a memory I know I'm always going to have, and with everything that's happened after it, I cherish it even more in a moment like that. To have I'll say what I love most about the dual team format is it gives chance for your not as good guys to become the heroes of the team. Like, your good guys are going to go out there and score the points, but where you win these duels is in those swing matches. And we had some guys step up huge in the swing matches, either not giving up very many points, or in one of our cases, getting a pin when we absolutely needed a pin. And is arguably, at least in the team format, the biggest pin in the school's history. So to be a part of that, and for a kid like that, who was a great kid, to have a memory like that is it's indescribable. And I know I'm going to treasure that. And it's one of the reasons why I love coaching. It's for a beautiful team moment like that. And sorry, I get a little, even now, like in the moment I got teared up. Even now I'm getting a little choked up just at how amazing it was. So I am so thankful that we were able to get that out. But then at the same time, to see not just wrestling, but all these athletic programs getting denied, unfortunately, denied these opportunities due to unforeseen circumstances. And while it is necessary, it is still heartbreaking, like I mentioned, because I know the work we put in for wrestling, and these teams and these players and these individuals and coaches, everything are putting in equal amount of work towards their individual sports, and to not have that opportunity to shine is hard, really hard. But unfortunately, it's that way. But life is hard, and it's not going to go your way all the time, and you will have to step up and move on despite what you're working for being taken away. Whether it's the opportunity will be awarded again is still up for debate in a lot of situations. I know they shut down winter sports, at least at the college level, given an opportunity, and we could probably go on for hours, and I'm sure we'll address it a little bit later about that. But I kind of ran off on a tangent. Just like I look back at the wrestling season, and I'm just so thankful we got it in when we could.
One of the things that come to mind on both aspects of it, the fact that you and your team were able to actually squeeze it in and get your championships in, and the ones that aren't able to squeeze it in and get it in, and now possibly just missed out on an opportunity altogether, is that once in a lifetime chances only come once in a lifetime, which is sad, and it's that the talking about got to have that once in a moment lifetime, because that's once in a lifetime moments right there, and it's amazing that you feel so amazed about it and that he got to have that. Now all the other guys that are working towards that, and even some of the guys on your team that were possibly looking to go to individual nationals and things like that, do you know the status on those tournaments at all?
Right now, I've only seen that they've been postponed. Nothing's been officially canceled at this point. A lot of those tournaments were set for May, so a little bit hopefully outside of what the top of this bell curve we're trying to minimize is going to be at. So, hopefully those guys still get those opportunities, but postponed is all I've heard at this point for at least Wisconsin, freestyle, and Greco states.
Is the word no one wants to hear. Postponed is always, okay, fuck, there's chance, but you see a lot of guys carry in the shape that they were in from the regular wrestling season going into the off season, and then preparing for the nationals and then freestyle tournaments, things like that. It's like I see these guys, like, they just stay in shape the entire time and then just continue to get into better and better and better shape. Do you feel like this is gonna the time off is gonna diminish some of the cardio and some of the strength that these fighters have been working that these wrestlers have been working the entire wrestling season trying to build up?
Well, absolutely, it's going to take away time from the mat and time for that interaction you get from wrestling. But everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's being denied this time and opportunity. So now it's truly on you and what discipline you have to get yourself ready for these moments and in these tournaments. So it's hard to say anybody's gotten one edge over the other when we're all in this crazy times together.
Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned it earlier. Once in a moment lifetimes only come. Once in a lifetime. So with the whole situation playing out, hopefully this never happens again. But a lot of shakeups. There's some people that are actually probably able to take advantage of this situation, because let's say that the guys that aren't necessarily training with the best wrestlers but have a lot of skill themselves, or like they're the best ones in the room, you know what I mean? And we've all heard the expression, you never want to be the best one in the room, because you're probably not getting better at that point, you're getting complacent. But now you have everybody that was never the best guy in the room always, basically they're the best guy in the room now. They're the only one in the room. They have no one else to train with. But a lot of these guys that were the best guy in the room aren't the best guy in the room because they want to be. It's because they just stand out that much. Do you feel like because everybody's at that same place, like the guys who are top notch but don't have top notch training partners, do you think that this is going to even it out a little bit better between those guys versus the guys that have the same amount of skill and train are never the best guy in the room?
It's an interesting question, kind of way to put it. I never thought of something like that, but yeah, I mean, if you're not working with the best guys, you're obviously not going to develop your talent as you would with the training with the best. So you are going to see probably a level off in talent a little bit, and guys that were projecting a little bit higher than others. These ones behind are going to get an opportunity to catch up a little bit more. But I think it still goes back to self-discipline and doing whatever you can to get ready, because I know these top level guys are going to have access probably to some facility to hopefully expand upon their talents. Now, I don't know that for sure. Obviously, I don't know what everyone has, but the road's always there. You can always run. Everything's on YouTube now. You can at least learn some mental technique, because there's nothing wrong with sitting and watching and developing a mental realization to certain situations. You might not know the technique completely, but if you're aware of the scenarios that you can apply it, you're going to be that much more advanced. So there's so many new ways to still expand upon your skill set, not just the physical in my case, wrestling room or the cage.
Yeah, and just one of the things I was thinking on, just picking on your expertise as far as amateur wrestling and how that goes, the ripple effect that this is all causing. I mean, we've heard at this point that the Olympics have been postponed to 2021. How do you see that ripple effect working down to even the high school level, with potentially guys taking another red shirt at the college level, kids coming up to the high school level? How do you think this impacts everything, and how long do you think it takes before it kind of evens back out as far as the pool?
It's going to probably take years to even out. I mean, you got I haven't everyone that took red shirts or Olympic red shirts this year, and are they going to be allowed it again next year? There's so many scenarios in which that thankfully I don't have to worry about, because I got enough of a headache here at home. But that's a scenario that's not my problem. But you look at that, and it's it's just so hard to imagine some of this stuff, because we never had to, really, up until this point, where so much, like everything, is unfortunately being shut down, versus just unfortunate scenarios that cause things to shut down for a few days. I think back to Bono, since he's the Wisconsin head coach. I've seen a bunch of his interviews, and he talked about in 2001 when we were supposed to wrestle for a world championship, and obviously in New York, and obviously that didn't happen, and that got postponed. But everything only was really shut down for about a week. Now we're talking about months, and everything nationwide, somewhat worldwide, is being turned off. So it's hard to figure how long something like this can recover, just because we don't have anything to measure it against, and which is why I think it's going to take really years to truly get back to what is going to be a new norm for everything. So I can't really predict like what they're going to do for all these championships and what these guys are going to have available to them for opportunities and eligibilities for everything. But I hope somehow we can figure out a way to give them another chance. And by doing that, you will have to give it to the juniors that were there this year, and the sophomores that were, and the freshmen, and the rest. Everyone will have to get the same year of eligibility. And then at that point, and then you'll have to reopen up recruiting, because some guys are going to go someplace because the spot was going up, and now it's not. Do they want to go somewhere else? And it's just going to put a huge ripple effect. So I look at something like this, at least in terms of athletics, I see at least a 5-year true recovery to back where they're supposed to be, if you grant that extra year of eligibility somehow.
The ripple effect. That's crazy. As soon as you started saying that, like my mind started to race a little bit, and I guess there's been guys where they're saying like, "Oh, I peaked too early" or "I peaked too late" and things like that, and they say that that's why they had lost the fight. Well, I think about just that type of thought process, but when it goes into people saying like, "That was my year," like you got guys that are let's say 38, 39, you know, this might be the last time that because in 4 more years from now, or even 1 more year from now, they form the same, or the age starts to catch up with all of us and things like that. So if it gets postponed a year, even though, like I just feel all of that shit for those guys, like, and then you start to think like, because everybody wants to add another year of eligibility for everything, like saying like, oh, we want to make it fair, or we'll just postpone it, have it go on another year and stuff like that. But it's still never going to be 100% truly fair ever. Now, like now that this has happened, it's just a situation that like, if TJ, if this year was your year to win the Olympics, sucks, bro. Like it
I was
just
gonna do it too.
Hopefully it never happens again. And that's just what I just thought crosses our arm. Like, well, and I feel like that's ultimately gonna be the situation for a lot of the guys.
Oh, you kind of cut out there
on a guy
right at
like,
the end.
oh, it's probably best that way anyway.
My bad.
I was gonna say, probably gonna end up seeing some documentary on a guy who's like way out of his mind or whatever, who's doing all this stuff, and then they at the end of the documentary they reveal like this dude was one of the guys that was part of the Olympic team that got postponed, and in the time that it got postponed, his mother had died, and then he got depressed. He ended up not making the team again, or not making it back or whatever, and then ultimately goes into an even deeper, darker depression. And 50 years later, they're making a documentary about how he's a drug addict, not how he won the fucking Olympics. Like,
That's deep.
I think that might be a little bit of an extreme scenario. I understand where your kind of mind's running a little bit, but it is like I know where you're coming from. It's heartbreaking. It is the moments like this in life. But what else? What else do we truly do? But shut things down. And I think the biggest problem is we don't truly know how much what we're doing is helping. We don't know how bad it would have gotten without our quarantines and social distancing and lockdowns that we have. So it's hard to just justify, but yeah, we did this and it saved X amount of lives or something like that. It's just we don't know. We know it's helping, we just don't know to what extent. So those people that are unfortunately these huge opportunities unfortunately aren't going to be there for them can only see that, not maybe the greater good that needs to happen at these times. And I completely understand what their frustration would be. I completely understand their heartbreak, and I feel almost calloused a little bit by saying this is necessary to, and your sacrifice, if you will, is unfortunately necessary right now. And it hurts to say, but I know it has to be said.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry. I feel like I keep cutting out and stuff. It keeps pausing, and like I think it's an opportunity for me to speak or something. But no, I'm like it's hard not to feel empathy for these guys. But I think it goes back to what you said earlier too. It's like I'm just glad that it's not me and I don't have to find out. And I did list off a very extreme scenario, very, very, very extreme, just so the people out there, like, hopefully that's not the case and everybody that was supposed to win wins. But I'm also a little bit of I'm not necessarily a believer in like fate and destiny and all that stuff, but like whoever wins the Olympics this year is supposed to win the Olympics this year. And if they're not, they're not, So like whether, like, let's say that this the hypothetical character that I'm talking about whose mom dies or whatever, right? Say his mom lives and this quarantine doesn't happen and it doesn't get get postponed or whatever. He makes it to the Olympics and he loses. Still, he still doesn't win or do anything at the Olympics. I'm like, shit. What is that going to make him just? In my scenario, is he mentally strong enough to be like, well, I gave it my good old college try and then call it good? Or maybe it turns out to be a drug addict because he loses anyway. I don't know. Maybe, now my mind's racing again. So
you guys can expect this new movie from Damian Hill, fall 2020. It's gonna be the biggest shit to hit the streets. You can see those wheels going.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. TJ smoked a lot of weed with me before, and then I'll just come up with shit. I'm like, that would be a good movie, wouldn't it? And then he'll be like, yeah, it would. You should write it down. I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
No.
Some of the best movies you've never seen.
Yeah. So,
that means mine.
It cut out for me. I didn't hear that.
Oh, I said some of the best movies we've seen have never seen straight out of your mind. I'm
Right.
ready to go.
Man. Director's cut.
Literally.
I feel like I keep cutting out. TJ, you want to take it?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've kind of groped the subject. I feel like, it's obviously one that, like you said, we don't know. And we could talk about it all day, but until it's done and we look back and laugh and go, God damn, we were dumb back in 2020. Remember everybody locked themselves in their house? We found out we didn't even have to do it. But, hopefully that's the case. Best case scenario, we laugh at ourselves for it. But, in the meantime, what's everything been like for you? Luckily you're out of the house working, but have you had a chance to, stay working out, stay in shape? Is there intention still to try to fight once this thing's all said and done?
Oh, absolutely. I want to get back in the cage. Definitely getting that little antsy with what you can. So so I got a lot of housework I got to do. So I've been attacking a lot of that, a lot of taking aggression out on the yard, as I got a very messed up yard that I got to get straightened out. Getting workouts when I can. When things are clean between some people, like tomorrow, I'm actually going back down to Kenosha, get some work in with Ben Rothwell, some more. I've been able to get with Alton Cunningham occasionally. We'll run by the lake or get some quick hands working. It's just that work is a little sporadic at this time, so I'm just trying to do what I can at home, like everybody else. Some makeshift home gyms that you can do pretty simply. I got some band stuff for my father. Just shut him in the door and go to work, and just trying to do the best with what I have. And I have a lot of yard work, so that's where most of the energy has been going to when I've been at home. It's just working there till exhaustion, and I'm better shape than I thought I would be at this point, but obviously we're all held back somewhat, so I still got some work to do. But yeah, I want to get back in as soon as possible, and hopefully August, September timeframe is the real reality for something like that.
Oh yeah, I definitely hope so.
Oh,
So I guess last questions that I got is when everything starts to transition back into normal, and they're starting to put on the shows again, do you expect the fans to be just as antsy as the fighters, to be willing to rush back to the show and be willing to watch in front of a bunch of, watch the fights with the crowd around them as well? Because we've talked to a few of the fighters where they're saying like, well, yeah, it'd be stupid for me, but if they give me an opportunity, I'm doing it. And, so are the fans going to have that same mindset as the fighters?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. People are going to want to get out of the house. People are going to want to socialize. People are going to see go have fun, take their mind off stuff. The fans are definitely going to be there. That's not going to be an issue at all.
Yeah.
that was my question.
No, yeah, I definitely hope so, because I know I can't wait to see you get back in there. Like you said, you're antsy to get back in there. So hopefully these shows get going here as soon as possible, and we get to see you back in the cage sooner than later. Before we wrap it up, though, you're familiar with the process. Open platform, just to thank anybody you want, teammates, sponsors, anything like that, family. It's yours, sir.
I unfortunately haven't been able to get back over to my team too much. So I just want to shout out to my team at Pure Vita and Jake and Zach and Solo, and just always I love my team. I love you guys. Thank you for your patience with me through the wrestling season and everything like that. I unfortunately haven't been able to see him to truly thank him like that. So I'm going to use this platform. As always, like with you guys and every other interview I do, I end it with thanking my family, whose love and support, especially in times like these, allows me to pursue these dreams and coach and train. So thank you to them, and thank you, gentlemen, as always, for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Pleasure's ours.
Yeah.
Pleasure's
100%. So for the fans watching this, you know the protocol as well. Like this video, hit the subscribe button down there right now. We'll wait. And don't be a hoe.